Hey, we're back after a little layoff.
We're back.
That's good. Hey, hello, welcome to another episode of Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with sculptors, carvers, and multi-talented artists from around the world. If you're a fan of the show and you like what we do, make sure you give us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Maddie, should we meet the artists tonight?
Why not? Let's have some fun.
Get out there. First, he's the amazing creature effects fabricator and monster maker. It's the foam fabber himself, and he's above me, Mr. Ted Haynes.
Howdy, y'all.
Hey, Teddy.
Howdy, Ted.
Hey there.
Next up, he's an artist and sculptor from Tucson, Arizona, and a Halloween Wars finalist. It's Matt Harper.
Matt.
My buddy.
That guy. Yeah, I remember him.
My name's Paul Dever. I'm an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. And our guest tonight is an award-winning effects makeup artist, sculptor, and teacher.
What
His
happened?
amazing work can be seen in, now hold on. Take a deep breath for this. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Wonder, The Twilight Saga, The Darkest Hour, Yellow Jackets, Peacemaker, Shogun, and Resident Alien, just to name a few, because I can't talk that long. It takes a lot of breath. So he's done a lot of stuff. Please welcome Michael Nickiforek.
Thank you
Hey,
for having
Michael.
me.
There he is.
Just off the bat, I never worked on The Darkest Hour. No.
You told me you worked on The Darkest Hour.
No. That was a movie that was at the same time as Wonder.
All right, ready?
That's okay.
Take two. I said all that stuff except for The Darkest Hour.
Except for that. Put it
Except
back
that.
to Wonder.
Well,
I never worked on that movie.
that's the beauty of doing it live. I screw
Yeah.
up all the time. But
Welcome.
It's a
We're
pleasure
glad
to
to
have
have
you
you.
on the show. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. Huge fan of your work. It's amazing.
Thank you for having me.
It's depressing, as I say all the time, when I see such great artists.
No, it's
I'll never get
encouraging,
that.
Paul. It's encouraging.
That's what we meant.
Come on.
That's what I meant. That's how we say that around here. That's
Right.
We
exactly.
just went over this. You guys are amazing. I've seen your work. It's beautiful.
I appreciate that. All right, so a little rundown of the show. Every week, we're going to take a carving challenge and get extreme anxiety while we try to get to know you better and walk through some great stories and a bunch of pictures of your amazing work. Last week's challenge was distinguished split face.
There you go.
Such a weird challenge. And Ted, this came out great.
I'll
Nice.
tell everybody about my cheat. So I got this out, I think, like 3 days after we had started carving, and I wanted to finish it up. And I had done a monocle for him already. I'd cut it out with some brass tube, and the monocle was just totally wilted and rotting and shriveled up like that. So that's a Photoshop monocle. So
Works out.
Ted,
No one would have known.
I wasn't
No
even
one-
going to say anything.
no, that's all right. I don't mind pointing out, if there's a cheat, but there was a monocle there. I thought it looked kind of cool as the piece of squash, but it was gone. So it just looked like this droopy thing just going down his eye. So I had it
Never hold
pinned
this
in.
shape. As soon as the water's gone, the shape is gone. You know what I've done in the past? You cook spaghetti
Yeah.
and then roll it in Elmer's glue and then wrap it
Oh.
around something that's of the same circumference
Uh-huh.
and let it dry, and then boom, you have the shape.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's edible.
And it's edible. So it counts as a Food Network thing. I mean, kids eat glue all the time, right?
Right.
Well, and that's how the
Very
mustache is on there. The mustache is on with super glue.
I wish you had turned it a little too, because you had that great knife.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I think I sent you a side shot, but I'll
Did
post
you? I
it.
didn't see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a more profile shot.
Go to Ted's site. Make sure you check it out. Go to his Instagram.
I'll post it out tonight.
Got it.
All right, let's see.
Oh, it's beautiful.
This was my
Killer lighting on this.
So what I couldn't get my head around, because it uses split face. So I was thinking of like a double face for the whole time, and you had to make distinguish. And I kept thinking split personality. I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't get it out. So I kept thinking of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So this is my Mr. Hyde. So he's wearing a suit, like the doctor would wear, but
Oh, great.
but he's become a little bit enraged because of his, whatever makes him turn into Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
I really like that tongue. It's almost like going upwards. Like
Yeah.
instead of just being out, it's just like up. That's great.
Yeah,
You
he's
can see the hole on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Was are the eyes potato?
no, the whole thing's squash.
Oh, because the eyeball actually looks a little bit lighter or something. So.
Yeah,
So I was
those
saying it's
stick
really
out-
good
they stick out
lighting,
a little
yeah.
further. Yeah, they stick out a little further. And the thing is, if you see like a typical one of these, this one's kind of upside down like that, and the whole bottom part of it is a solid mass, so that would help make the tongue.
Depth. Yeah. Oh, so is the tongue that's not glued in? That's like all
No,
sculpted?
it's all carved in.
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
and
that's
then-
amazing.
And then the ears are just cut out of the back and bolted on the side with super glue. So,
I was like, bolted. You really went the extra mile.
well, super, yeah.
No, I love the bottom teeth. Actually, I love the
The-
beefiness of them.
The jutting jaw.
Yeah, the molar just cracking out through the side of the jaw. Amazing, hell of a job.
Thank you guys. Thank you. And Paul, you really stuck to it. And
I sucked to it because I did finish all the faces, but it took me so long to get back to it that there was a soft spot in one of the eyes, and I was embarrassed to post the whole thing because I was going to do a full three. Like they all came out decent except for one eye was just all, it gets mealy and starts getting dark. Like it already had a rot spot somewhere in it.
You should have just turned that into just like a disgusting eye socket.
Hindsight's 2020, Michael.
Oh, Photoshop.
happy accident, right?
But you know what I did do is I did scan it. So like Ted, I will post edit and fix that one eyeball and then 3D print it. And then I'll be able to be like, look, it did take me forever. That's 5 noses, 5 mouths. I had to do a mustache on one because it was like, if I do another mouth, I quit.
The distinguished part you nailed because in each one of them, he kind of like,
yeah,
like almost.
Oh, every face is hoity-toity.
A little hoity. Yeah.
All of your mouths are great, man. I love the one on the left side. Like it's great. That profile is really nice.
And if you take your fingers and hold it to the outside, you can just see the middle face. You can cut the other ones out there. Kind of cool.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Very good.
Yeah, let's take that off the board for a while, gentlemen.
Yeah, that one was
a little tough.
Yeah.
Well, who put it on the board?
Some jerk.
Split face.
On that note, we'd like to introduce you to the 4th member of Carvers and Creatives responsible for our carving challenge tonight. It is the Hella Wheel, the Center Spinner, many names, a lot of profanity, but the wheel that's going to give us our carving choices tonight. So let's do it, shall we?
Why not?
Okay. Michael, wheel, Michael. Here's our choices tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to spin it twice. The first time we spin it will be the character that we're going to have to try and carve. And the second spin will be the emotion or attribute applied to the first spin. What could go wrong? So our choices tonight are skull, demon, guest choice, so have one ready, meathead, giant, Viking, from outer space, bug, baby, or goblin.
Okay.
I'm just glad Split Face isn't on there, so that's good. Second spin, terrified, exhausted, distinguished, guest choice once again, crazy, jolly, excited, furious, sad, or giddy. You see the smoke through the trees every now and again, and I realize I write a lot of the same words, the same emotions, with different words.
Yeah.
I got to get a better vocabulary. All right, are we ready? There we go.
Why not?
Oh, boy. No whammies, no whammies.
Only whammies.
Ooh.
Viking. We had a Viking not too long ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Another Viking.
All right. Another Viking.
What is that Viking going to be doing today?
An exhausted Viking.
I don't think that's a real thing.
No, they have a lot of energy.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They go forever.
Yeah.
As we're doing it out of squash, we're gonna make the impossible possible.
Yeah.
Sweet Georgia Brown.
Exhausted Viking. Exhausted Viking. Okay, I'm putting it into the chat.
Viking. I don't know. Them both are fine.
And while I'm putting it into the chat, so then now we can't not do it because it's written down somewhere. But I do want to chime in. There's a lot of folks saying hello, and we missed them because we weren't on last week or the prior, and we got a bunch of our fans and friends.
That's my buddy, great.
Oh, from Saskatchewan. Oh,
yeah, that's my friend. That's my hometown friend.
Wow, I wouldn't want to live there just because I'd have to spell it.
I'm not from Saskatchewan, neither is he. We're from Vernon in British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've known each other since like grade 7.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining.
Right.
So, Maddie,
he's gonna troll me the whole show, by the way.
Okay, well, I'll be careful about what I put up. We don't want to have.
No, just let it go. He won't be bad. He's actually really sweet guy.
Okay. All right.
Well, we're gonna give everybody a couple minutes if you guys are gonna join in on the challenge, which we encourage. And we don't force it, but if you do want to join us, that's great. If you don't, then you'll like this next segment, because while everybody gets their tools and stuff together to carve, we're going to go around the horn and see what our carving oil is. Our carving oil is what our beverage of choice is for us fellas that have been around a little while and need a little lubrication for the joints and the imagination.
Right.
So, Maddie, why don't you start tonight?
All right. I'm kind of going a little pedestrian, one would say today, with a something from south of the border called Dos Equis. I don't know what that means.
Is that an equestrian type thing?
It must be an equestrian kind of beer or something. But typically, Paul and I, or Paul specifically, and Ted, will grab like a good, IPA, and this one was a lot easier to drink in my.
Just hate them.
I kind of hate them. But these are a little easier to drink, and I know this will make me happy. So it's more of a mood enhancer than it is a beverage of choice. But that's what I'm having.
It's the carving oil.
It's the carving oil. You can't.
That's what you need. That's what you need.
Yeah. How about you? What are you having, Ted?
From the Unicorn Brewery in the UK.
Oh,
Got Iron
Yeah.
Maiden. It's
Oh.
a premium British beer
Have you had it yet?
created by Iron Maiden. No, I have not.
Oh,
Wow.
good. Wait,
Super.
I'd like to actually watch your face when you do take a sip, because
It's,
I have tried it.
All I know is it's charged with flavor. But I
Drink
do-
some right now.
I've
Have a
also
sip
got
right
a bottle of water here too. So
water.
Have it ready, Ted. That's all I'm going to say is have it ready.
Crack it. Let's see this. I want to see you have a sip right now.
okay.
All right,
here we
let's
go.
see how. Okay, here.
Honesty is the best policy.
Is it like a light, dark? What is it?
Oh, it's light.
Yeah, okay.
It's not
like a
terrible.
It's like a lager.
It's beer. It's a little bit on the
It's beer.
it's beer.
Mm.
It's charged with Eddie on the front. That's what's selling that beer is Eddie.
Yeah.
So no, it's it's in a pinch, it's beer. So
Yeah. Well, there you go.
All right.
it's
so
not
is your own.
I've had definitely worse.
You didn't cringe when you drank it. So that's
No,
good.
no. I have definitely had worse. And it's
Yeah.
only like 4% alcohol, so I'm fine.
Oh,
Oh, oh, God. Well,
I would drink Heffenreffer before I had another one of those.
I've got work to do yet tonight, so
Oh, there you go.
4% is okay.
three more hours in the shop after this.
Oh, boy.
so Ted, is that like just part of your shop behind you there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's beautiful. I'm in my bedroom. My shop. I actually just finished setting my. I just moved like a month ago, and I just put my garage back together, which is my home shop, and it's almost there, but not quite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my shop is my home shop. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So is mine. I mean, for mine. I mean, I work in various shops in Vancouver, but my shop is in my garage.
Wow.
I wish I had a garage.
This is the my corner of fun. I've got the 3D printers that are going bananas right now, and so
They're
Wow.
running in the background. How they're super quiet.
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I've got
It's insanely quiet.
4 running here. They're all covered up. They're I got blankets on them.
Just in
Does that
case.
do anything, or is that
What's
just
that?
to make it look? Does
It's
that
proprietary
Maybe-
stuff. Oh, you
Well,
can't-
it does it.
proprietary.
What I found out a while back after I have a large bay door over here, and when that bay door goes up and the
Oh, the
sun is
sun.
setting in the west,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
nothing but sunlight blowing right here,
Oh, yeah.
no, yeah.
and I
it'll
got a
cure as
nice
you go.
thin layer of catalyzed resin on the top of all of my
Oh, that's
my,
awful.
baths.
You know
and
what's-
such.
There are a couple of sculpts of mine that had that kind of line where I had to kind of scrub it off, but I was always like, resin shouldn't set on resin if it's not cured.
Right.
And now I'm realizing there must be a point in the day where the sun is coming in through that window.
Oh,
You gotta
Okay.
block it out, Paul.
Solve the mystery.
You gotta
through
block it
Ted.
out.
So
exactly.
my shop is completely, there's a window that's completely covered inside and out. There's a skylight that's covered inside.
Oh, God.
Nice.
Oh well.
Wait, we gotta see what you're drinking,
Yeah, what are you
because
drinking?
now that we know that Ted stomached his first sip, what are you having tonight, Paul?
Well, you know what I found, Matt? Matt does like one specific IPA, and it's from a brewery in Waltham, Massachusetts called Mighty Squirrel. It's called Cloud Candy,
Oh, dear Lord.
and I found Cloud Candy's little brother called Magic Rain.
Holy crap. All right.
Yeah, right. It's so I think Cloud Candy's like a 7.5 or an 8. Like it's
Yeah.
a high up there. This one's 5.8, Matt. So if this goes well, throw it in the suitcase for you, my friend.
There we go.
Yeah. Big fan of Mighty Squirrel. Shout out to Mighty Squirrel if you're looking for any art collaborations for the Halloween season.
Yeah, just a nice light request on that end. Yeah,
No big deal. Just throwing it out there. Michael, what do you got?
I am not drinking beer at all. I'm drinking Negroni. Just gonna toss
Oh.
it there.
Hey now.
oh, he's got a full on. Okay, this is,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not much of a beer guy. I used to drink it when I was younger, but it makes me too full, and it doesn't get me drunk quick enough. And I find cocktails and wine much more tasty and efficient. So
efficient because you save the calories. There's
Absolutely.
actually a website. There's a website if you guys ever are curious called Get Drunk Not Fat. So it ranks the highest alcohol, lowest calorie content, and like Everclear's at the top, and at the bottom is like Godiva chocolate liqueur, which is like might as well be making a milkshake. So
I'm sure
it's fun to peruse if you ever want to get efficient like that.
My regular go-to is just vodka soda because it's basically that. It's just no sugar, no nothing, and it's like
Right.
I actually hate vodka. I don't fucking like it at all. It's gross.
Yeah.
I've hated it since I was like 13 years old. But like about 3 years ago, I started drinking it because I was just like, oh, there's no sugar in this. I used to be like a Ryan Ginger guy, which is like,
Yeah, no, that's good though.
Yeah.
no, it tastes fucking delicious, but it's
But
the
calories.
the sugar and the calories. It's like the hangover is fucking brutal.
Yeah, because your head's
Yeah, and it's just like, and you get just trashed. But and I started drinking vodka soda, and I was like, oh man, I get drunk, I have a good time, I wake up, and I feel relatively normal, and it doesn't affect my health, like my weight, I guess. But yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
great. And I actually almost like vodka now. Almost, I need lots of lime now.
It's
Tons of
good
lime.
for you. I think that's what I'm hearing. This is
I just thought it was funny when you said I've hated it since I was 13.
That's why I started drinking alcohol. It's like not like, but it's like I never liked vodka. I couldn't do it. I was always like, this is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yeah,
especially when
it
you're drinking
is.
a few
It's
stuff.
weird. It's a weird tasting thing, but
I love it.
I force
Well-
myself to drink it now.
Gentlemen, cheers to our guests
Yeah,
tonight, and cheers to our
Cheers.
people watching at home, and hopefully our scalps. Jesus help us.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
Oh, Matt, one's going in the suitcase. This
Oh,
is like a Model O for you.
I love it. I love it. A couple more comments coming in. Oh, and I even got one. Matt has
Everybody
some
wants
cool
show
stuff
and
in the
tell.
back.
Brendan wants show and tell.
I actually have one cool thing in my room. You can't see it, but I'll pop it. I'll bring it over. It's
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
I'll grab it.
Show and tell.
Yeah. Why not?
I can show you my oil container in the basement.
I got to grab.
Super random, but I have. So this is actually on my Instagram, but it's just like this severed hand that I did for my buddy's short.
badass.
Yeah, so it's just like, so this is just like a hand that was. This is just straight into alginate cast of a guy's hand.
Yeah.
And then I did a fabrication on the end, and then my friend Chrissy, she painted this for me. And then this was an alginate. Oh, sorry, this was like a body double casting that I did, again, silicone straight into it, and then did fabrication on the end. But this is actually rigged to just like do blood spray out it as well.
Jesus.
Very cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it looks pretty dark.
Yeah.
And just very. But if you go on my Instagram, you can see it in its proper sort of form. But yeah.
It looks
Randomly,
like whatever cut that hand off was pretty clean. That was a big cleaver right there. Whatever.
Yeah, the way it worked is like it just goes like this, and it's just like just below camera. So the guy's like holding his arm like that. But yeah, no, it was like a katana, so very clean.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, there you go.
What show was that for, Michael?
It's a friend of mine. His name is Rudy. He was just doing like a short film, an idea he had, and so in that the guy gets his hand cut off, and it's very like over the top and a spray, and it's like spraying over this guy's face, like very like, Kill Bill style.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Extra blood.
I was saying right before the show, I was like scrolling through your IMDb. I've got it open right now, and so much of the stuff that we overlapped with when I was working at Legacy or working down in LA, I see like Revenant on here that we worked on, and what did I say? The Flash TV show.
Oh yeah.
And so we've worked on a lot of the same stuff, just in different countries.
Yeah, absolutely. The Flash has been an interesting thing because I've worked at the Flash at for me, 2 different shops, but in Vancouver, that show has gone to 4 different companies.
Right.
And four different companies have produced like the cowls or the masks for the Flash.
And we're talking about the TV show, The Flash. Not
Exactly. Yeah, the CW series. Yeah,
right.
I've actually worked on most of the CW series shows like over the years.
Yeah, I saw Smallville.
Yeah, Smallville was the first one. Smallville, Arrow, Supergirl. Was it something of Tomorrow? I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. That's
one of my favorite shows that I've got to get caught up on is Resident Alien. But I love.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
So much fun. Alan Tudyk is perfect in it, but the makeup you guys do on that is just so much fun.
It is amazing.
I mean, so yeah, for that show, so that was the third season that I personally actually I should say that's not true. So I actually worked on the show for 2 seasons. The show's been around 3 seasons out now. The first season was done by a company called WCT. It was actually a guy I used to work for. His name is Bill Terzakis. He actually passed away a few years ago now, but he did the first season. And after he passed away, he actually, or the show, they were kind of scrambling for someone to take over. And the company that I used to work for called Schminken Effects, they kind of got handed the show. And so they continued the show for season 2. They used all the molds that Bill produced, and so we just kept running the same prosthetics. The next year, I actually got laid off from that company, and me and a coworker of mine decided to start our own company at that time. And she was the coordinator for season 2. And so when season 3 came around, they kind of approached her, and she's like, "I'm not at that company anymore. I started my own company." And so they actually ended up giving us the 3rd season. And so what you see here is. He's got 2 forms. The smaller head is in the show, and the things I've never seen the show, so all I know is that this is what I've heard. In the show, a boy can see his alien form, but when he's regularly dressed, that's the smaller head.
Okay.
And he's like wearing regular human clothes. And then the bigger head is like him in his full alien form. So that larger head goes with a full suit that was done, as well as gloves. But so for that makeup though, like the first 2 seasons were the same molds. And the crazy thing is, in the first season, the makeup was worn by 3 different guys. Alan wore it, but there was 2 guys that were actually the creature performers in the first season. A stunt guy and another guy who's a friend of mine. His name is Keith Arbonot. He was the main creature performer in season 1. So it wasn't actually Alan in the suit for most of the first season. Okay. When season 2 rolled around, Alan said, "I actually want to do all of the acting myself, even in makeup, because I found just that their actions didn't match my style."
Right.
And so we kept running pieces for him for season 2. But the thing is, like, they didn't fit him very well. His life cast was done at a time in his life when he's like, I would say honestly, just like a thinner person. And then, so it was just tight. It didn't fit well. It gave him headaches. And the thing about foam latex is it shrinks, right?
Right.
And so for the neck, this is actually a very common trick, is if you're doing a foam latex cowl or mask, you just add an inch to the neck of the actual core. So when you have the finished baked foam latex that's shrunk, it actually shrinks into place on the shoulder. And so that's what I did. I took his life cast. I extended the neck. I had to resculpt the whole thing. And honestly, man, trying to match a makeup that was sculpted by different artists.
Right.
This was the most difficult thing I've done in my entire career. I'm not even lying. I was super stressed about it. I was very nervous. And the thing is, even when the sculpture was done, it wasn't approved by production. Like we were just, because they were like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're just giving us the same thing that we already have," so no one questioned it. But I knew that things like little details would be scrutinized. And honestly, after the first test, the first test went well. But when they started actually shooting, then they were like, "Oh, the little wrinkles in the eyes are too strong." They started picking it apart, and I was like, "This is not a 3D scan and a print. This is me trying to replicate something that was done by," and I'm pretty sure at that shop, knowing Bill, I think there was probably at least 2 or 3 hands on those sculptures. Whereas I sculpted this whole thing myself, trying to, pick out the forms and the major shapes as close as possible and bring it all in. But it was very stressful. And they did start to kind of like realize that it wasn't an exact match, but we were also like, look, it was never going to be. Right. Yeah. And once they kind of realized that, they kind of accepted it, and we were able to move on. But I was terrified about that. And then when it started happening, I was like, oh God, I knew this was going to happen.
It came out great, man. You honestly should be proud of the work.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
the avian as well is, I mean, what a lot of work that was.
Yeah, Heather. Yeah, that was actually really fun. That was actually like something that had like a lot of work. As far as there was like, so the person that was working for us, Bronwyn, she's was our lead painter in our shop. And then she's also does our designs. And so she did this design, but the design was just from like straight front on. There's no profile, there's nothing. And so I had to take that design. I wish I had a copy of it so you could see, and then take that and then create a profile and also the back of the head. So from the front is what you saw. Everything else I had to make up myself. So that was fun, but it was also like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, but I kind of just took the feather theme and just laid it out and kind of got where we got to.
I just find it amazing that you haven't seen one episode of it. Because I stumbled across it by accident, and my wife and I fell in love with it.
I've heard
he is so funny.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's worth watching. Even though you're a critic of your own stuff, it's a fun one to watch.
It's a fun show.
I'm not even a critic of my own stuff. It's more about if the show is good or not. Like I've done like amazing work at companies, and not even just me, but just I've been a part of like amazing shows and amazing work. But the actual shows themselves are not very good, and so I always just kind of end up skipping it because it's like I don't watch Smallville. I don't watch any of the CW stuff because to me that's just, I don't know, it's for like 14-year-olds. I feel like, I don't know, it's just. But I have seen a few things that I worked on, and I've enjoyed it. But I've heard that show is actually very funny, and I love sci-fi, so I'm sure I'll get around to it one day.
I watched all of Smallville, but I was watching it with my daughter, who at the time was probably 12 to whatever when that came out. So
yeah, but that's perfect though, because
we hung in there with Smallville.
And the thing is, I fucking love Riverdale. Okay, I'm not like I watched the whole run of Riverdale. I was super into it, man. I don't know why it got me, but I was like, it was super enjoyable.
That's the Archie and Jughead one, right?
Yeah. I think I just like, I don't know. It for some reason it got me. I don't know why. And the soundtrack was actually pretty decent in the show. And for me, music and shows, if it's good, it'll really draw me into it a lot more. And not like there's like there's some music in that show, like just like pop songs and stuff, but the actual I would say like the original soundtrack they did for it was actually pretty decent. And I don't know, I just and I loved how every season they switched it up, and so that's my embarrassing guilty pleasure. Yeah, man, and it's done now, and I feel like
I know what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. And the funny thing is, like that show, it's like the acting was honestly decent, but like all those people in the show, it's like I haven't seen them in anything else, absolutely nothing. And they did like 7 years of that show. You thought they would have got picked up and kind of started to deviate, and like nobody.
Well, wasn't Luke Perry in that? I think he died actually.
Yeah, he died. He had like, I think what was this, like an aneurysm or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. That might not be the wrong thing, but yeah, no, I think after like the 3rd or 4th season, he ended up passing away. Yeah,
I know this is not from that show. I mean, tell us about. We've got a number of pictures we want to.
Oh yeah, sorry. So I mean, what was the last picture? We didn't even.
We started here.
Okay, so this,
subtle, but yet horrible.
So this is this was just like a makeup I did for a demo at the year before the first IMATS ever happened in Vancouver. There was like another makeup trade show they put on. I don't even know where it came from. It was kind of obscure. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and so I went to Vancouver Film School back in the day for my education, and I ended up being an instructor there, and I'm still like affiliated with them. Like I love the school and I love their program. But Stan Edmonds asked me to do a demo for the school, and so I came up with this, which is just like basically a burn scar makeup. And this was 2009, and so when I went to school, I learned on gelatin, so that was like my go-to. Because A, it's cheap, B, it still looks really, really good. Yeah. And it's easy to do in your home. I was doing stuff in my kitchen, Sure. I didn't have a shop for like years. And so this was done like in my sculpting on my living room couch and then cast out on my kitchen counters. And yeah, so you can't see in this picture, but there's actually a little piece of nylon that, this is actually a friend of mine, his name is John Berzin. When he opened his mouth, it'd pull his eyelid down, which was great.
Oh, that's cool.
Some cool. Yeah,
yeah, like the tight skin. That's so
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. But I love like how like in this makeup, when you look at it, it doesn't look there's any build out on his face, but the depth in those craters.
Yeah.
I really thought it was super successful that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. That's how you know it's successful.
That's how you know it's exactly.
Michael, what in that picture? What are we seeing as far as like a prosthetic? Is that just build up gelatin, or is that a prosthetic piece?
No, that's all sculpted. That's
Okay.
Gelatin prosthetics. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gelatin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that was actually the first makeup I ever actually sculpted as a whole sculpture, and then broke down into separate overlapping pieces.
Okay,
I'd done multiple piece makeups before, but they were just sculpted each piece separately and then brought together. That was the first time I sculpted something, floated it off, and separated it into all the different pieces.
Okay.
The pieces. I love the paint job. It's just it blends in so nicely, and
thank you.
Great piece.
Yeah. Subtle.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite makeups I've ever done. It just I love the depth, and it all kind of came together really well. So this is on a buddy of mine. His name is Jason. So this was done as a demo for Vancouver Film School, Shanghai. So Vancouver Film School in 2015 started. Actually, it was the fall of 2014. They started offering their program in Shanghai. Makeup effects, film production, sound design, and then 3D animation and visual effects program. So their top 4 programs they have in Vancouver, and they got like 10 or 15 programs in Vancouver, but their top 4 programs, they actually set up a campus and started offering them in Shanghai. And I went there to help set up the school, help basically set up the makeup effects shop lab they would have there for that part of the program.
Awesome.
And then this is the second year there. This is my foam latex demo. And the funny thing is like I'm not gonna lie, I've only applied foam latex like I think 3 times in my life, and this is the last time I ever did one. And so really? I sculpted this, and then I sculpted it because when I came into the whole industry, like I learned on gelatin, which was like the kind of like the most experience for most people, having a translucent material, and then. And then like when I got in industry, like the year I started, or the year I finished school was the year that silicone honestly started to be used like aggressively. And then I just saw it, grow and grow and grow. And I actually got my first job in a shop. That was just the standard, and gelatin was still being used, but usually for things that were very close to the eye, so you don't have to use acetone too close. And so foam latex, I was never a part of it, because it just, unless it was like a super big heavy makeup that you needed that lightness, everybody was using silicone for everything right away. And so I just didn't really have the experience applying stuff, because it wasn't kind of forced upon me. And then I did, but we in Vancouver Film School, they still have that as part of the program, because it's still used, and it's still a good thing to have as far as knowledge, because it is still used. Again, for creature suits are always foam latex. You almost never have like a silicone creature suit, unless if it's very thin and done properly. But but as far as like a facial makeup, most of the time it's not foam latex anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
But sometimes it still is. It just depends. So this one, that's the same guy. This is my buddy Jason again. So this is actually
the same guy.
Yes.
Wait, hang on a second.
Time out. Oh no, that guy. I think about the guy before that guy.
Before?
No. So Jason is Taiwanese. So that's just this is actually, there's a different picture of this. So this is actually not the makeup that I did. This is a face app rendering of an acid scar makeup that I did on him. So again, it's on my Instagram. So if you scroll back, you can see it. Actually, I reposted it recently. So, but the cool thing about face app is like, not only did it age him, but it aged his scarring, and I actually think it's quite remarkable for.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's all. All the aging is not me. I wish it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
It's good reference for when you do the actual appliance for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually have done an age makeup on him too. It's a more subtle one. It's not as extreme, but it's on my. Oh yeah, so this one here, this was for Shogun. So there's a character named John Blackthorne, and in it there's like a dream sequence. I did this for Schminken Effects in Vancouver, and there's a dream sequence. Again, as far as I know, I haven't seen that show either. I heard it's very good, so I want to watch it. I love.
I know. I haven't gotten to this episode yet.
Oh yeah, you've seen part of the show.
I think I'm about 5 episodes in.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
That's
so
great
I've
show.
heard it's great though. I heard it's done
Yeah.
well.
No, really
It
good.
was a very long, drawn out production though. It was like, as far as TV shows go, it's one of the longest ones that I've worked on.
Oh.
It was, yeah, it probably went on to 2 or 3 months longer than most shows go. But there's a dream sequence, I think, in the last episode, if I understand correctly, where he is
Spoiler
just
alert.
yeah, totally. This is 100%. So sorry, Ted. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
There's a dream sequence, and he's aged in it for whatever reason, like obviously it's in the future. And then so this was my initial block out of the actor being aged. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
So cool. That's such a beautiful sculpt too. I mean, I know
Well,
just expecting to open his eyes. I mean, it's just amazing.
And so in this, he has his full, he had his, a full beard, so we had to cut it off like right.
I'm going way back and forth. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we had to cut it off right at his beard line. Like, we intentionally made sure, like when we did his face cast, that like we didn't press. Is it silicone life cast that we didn't push it in? Like, we just like let it kind of sit under the surface of his facial hair so we could see it as best as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just 2 small cheek pieces, a nose tip, and then a forehead, and also earlobes, which you can't really see.
So cool.
So you're shooting out a sequence on the TV show, of course. So you can't get him to shave his beard, probably, right?
No, but the thing is, well, there's that, but also even in like the sequence, he has a beard, so they just actually even hand laid longer hair onto it.
A little bit more over. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, longer.
So he
yeah,
looks like
very,
this, right?
Actually, very close.
It's going
More
from like you to this.
more like scraggly, but like yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. And now very recognizable here.
Yeah, I wonder.
That to me is one of the most epic, because I if you've seen the kid,
Yes.
he certainly is an attractive young male, and he's been in a
Yeah.
bunch of really cool and you see this picture, like, oh my god,
Jacob
that's
Tremblay. So Jacob's a Canadian actor. He's actually Canadian. He did his first movie was called I think it's called The Room or Room.
Oh, Room. Yeah, Room.
Room. Yeah, Room.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing he ever did, and he was like
amazing in it.
like 7 or something like that.
Absolutely amazing in it with
and it's like, and it's based on a true story, like that actually happened, which is like super disturbing.
Yeah.
But he's incredible in it, and it's like to get that much of a performance out of someone that young is incredible. Absolutely insane. And so then his next big movie was this, and they cast him in it. And I'm sure you guys all know Aryan. He's his last 2 films have been the Ghostbusters, which have been his work in those movies is great. I'm a huge fan of that series, the original movies. Massive fan. The sequels, I wanted to love them, and I had a hard time, but their work is his work, his company's work has been absolutely breathtaking. When I was in Shanghai for my second year of being there for teaching and helping set up the school, I was there, and I actually got a message from Aryan via Facebook, believe it or not, asking me what I was doing later in that summer. And I said, I'm actually in Shanghai right now working. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually going to be working on a film in Vancouver, and I was wondering if you would, maybe be interested in working for me. And most of my career has been working in the shop. Like I've created my own makeups time and time again and applied them. But as far as my career goes, I've been like a mold maker, sculptor, prosthetics fabricator, just a prop fabricator, but in the industry, I never really was on set applying makeups. Like that's not what I was mostly doing. And so I automatically assumed he was maybe going to have like a pop-up shop in Vancouver. I was like, oh, like, do you want me to like help out with shop work? He's like, no, I want you to help me apply a makeup. And I was like, what?
Oh, great.
Yeah, I was totally blown away. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, yeah, I've seen your work on Facebook. He's like, I really like it. And I think that like your subtle touch paint wise, and everything
Yeah.
rolled in well to this makeup. And the reality was like I actually turned him down out of straight fear. I was like, I was super intimidated because again, like if it was to work in a shop, I 100% would have been like, yeah, absolutely. But to go on set and apply makeup with someone that I've never met in my entire life, who I know who he was, and I've been a fan of his work for years. And our correspondence had mostly been him posting pictures of his work and me being like, that's fucking amazing. Like this is so great. And that's our correspondence. And so then he's just like, yeah, I want you to be on the show. And so I was like, oh man, I can't, because I can't get off work here. I had to give them 4 weeks notice in Shanghai, technically, in the contract to leave. And then I was like, I can't do it. I was basically giving myself every excuse to not take the job because I was terrified. And then that was a Friday. And then Sunday night, Monday morning, I woke up and I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You gotta take this opportunity. This guy is like hyper talented. And he explained what the makeup was. He didn't show me any pictures. He just told me what it was going to be. And I'll say this, my 2 favorite makeups to do, like me personally, is I love age makeup and I love realistic scarring. Those, I think if you can do a realistic scars and it looks totally real, because they're hard. Like there's Freddy Krueger, which is great, but if you do it real is very hard. Yeah. And aging is very hard to do, like real where like that. You can say that's a great makeup, or you can be like, oh, that's a cool photo of an old person. And you're like, oh, that's a makeup. And you're like, oh, what? There's like, it's like when it's that good, it's that good. And so I love both those things because I think they're extremely hard. So he told me what he looked like roughly. And I was like, and so I already had this idea the moment he explained the makeup that this is going to be a very special makeup, whatever it ends up being. I think it's going to be something cool. And so I panic messaged him on Monday saying like, look, man, I figured things out with the school, which I did. I talked to him and said like, look, I can actually get all my work done in 2 weeks to leave on time for this production to start. And everyone was all okay with it and on board. But then I didn't hear back from him for 3 days straight.
Oh no.
And I had recommended friends to take the job instead of me. And I was messaging him over and over and over, like pathetically. Come on, buddy. And then he finally got back to me. He's like, oh, hey, like, no, he's like, I've been so busy. He's like, I haven't even like thought about somebody else. He's like, you're in? Okay, great. Awesome. And I was like,
oh, okay.
And so then that was it. And I got into Vancouver at 9 p.m. from Shanghai, and then had to get up at 5 a.m. for like a 6 a.m. test, I think, or whatever it was. Goodness. I didn't even sleep, man. I was so nervous. I didn't even sleep, but I was also like, I had jet lag, so I was wide awake when I should be sleeping anyway. So I was just good to go. I was good to go. And the very first test we did of the makeup together, we applied it. And that was, so this makeup that you see here, this is the 3rd time that Aryan sculpted that makeup. Oh. He sculpted it 3 times completely from beginning to end and applied 3 different tests. And so we applied that first test together of that final sculpture.
Now, was that the resculpting, was that on Aryan or was that on production? Was it Aryan just trying to push the makeup and trying to get better?
I believe it maybe a mix of both, but if I understand the way things mostly go, I would say that it was probably production saying we don't like this.
Right.
And wanting to change subtle things. And I've seen the original sculpt, and honestly, it's not much different.
Okay. I also know Aryan, and I know he's a perfectionist.
Yes. So I think it was probably a collaboration. I think everybody was like, we can go in this direction, and they were on board. And obviously, I feel like for that makeup, they really wanted to nail it. So I feel like even like financially, they're just like, yes, completely redo it. It was a lot of work. Completely redo it. And then, so this is the 3rd time. Even the teeth that Jacob wears, he's just got a little, like, I think it's the first 6 teeth he wears, very thin veneer done by Art. I don't know if you, yeah.
Wow.
But great dental tech guy. But I saw all his original design. He did like 4 different designs of these like super lumpy, almost like tumorous like gums, like crazy. They even had like a cleft lip version. And all these amazing things, and they end up with like a very subtle what you see there, which is just like these little kind of like slightly buck teeth, like a little bit, just like hanging down.
You're gonna ride that fine line, especially with
exactly.
Like this. You don't want him to be frightening. You want him to be sympathetic. You want your audience to relate to him. And
You want him to feel sorry, but not
No,
be like
exactly.
horrified.
And
Yeah.
the thing about this makeup is like, if you see people with the real condition, some people are extremely disfigured, and as we all know, like Hollywood, they don't want to show you the real thing. The only time I've seen like a makeup that was probably like disturbing to the point of like being like realistic was like Mason Verger in Hannibal. We're like, oh, like that's really off-putting and like fucked up. They didn't want to do that with Jacob because they still wanted you to like love him. And some people, you know,
Right.
like, can't do that if they're not pretty enough or whatever you want to say. But
Well,
he still has all the characteristics of that. It's called Treacher Collins. It's like it's all there. Like these like kind of frontward folded earlobes, no ears, and these are scars in his face from surgeries because they open up the face. They're born without cheekbones, right? That's the thing. They have no cheekbones, so their eyes are basically just like hanging in their head. There's no socket to support them. Yeah, so it's crazy. But yeah, so I took the job, and like honestly, I was terrified of like Ariane being like a psycho, like because like some people in this industry just have like, you know, like pretty tough personalities to work with, you know, especially when you don't know someone. I was a stranger.
Ariane is so mean, isn't he?
He's one of the worst people I've ever met in my entire life. No, man. He is honestly, to this day, he is the most encouraging, supportive, nicest artist in this industry that probably exists. If there's someone better than him,
one of the sweetest guys ever.
No, if there's someone better than him, please come forward and prove it, because I don't fucking believe you. Man, I have a story actually, and most people don't know this, but so I think about 3 weeks in, we were gluing the makeup down, and on Ariane's side, he got like a little bit of glue on his eyelid, and so his you know, when Jacob opened his eye, it was sticking, and so as we're working getting the makeup down, he was like, "Oh, hey, can you just like kind of get the glue off his eyelid?" And so I was like, "Okay, sure." So the easiest way to start is at least get some. It was Telesis, and I got some Telesis thinner, just like a Q-tip. I just dipped it in, and I just went to go on, start to pull it off, and this drop of pure Telesis thinner went straight down his eyelid into his eye, and obviously it stings because it's a solvent, but it's, you know, medically safe. So it's basically like getting alcohol in your eye. But man, for some reason he had tissue in his hand already, and he just like immediately put this tissue into his face, and he just pushed it in, which we're like, okay, yeah. And he's like, it stings. We're like, and I felt fucking horrible.
Oh, sure.
And so what Ariane's like, let's just give him like 5 minutes to completely just like calm down, like for it to go away, and we'll keep going. When Jacob pulled that tissue away, all of his eyelashes were glued to his fucking eyelid, and it was fully covered in tissue as well. And so we're both looking at it, and I'm just like, first of all, I'm like, Jacob's gonna hate me for the rest of this production. That was week 3, and we had 5 more weeks to go after this.
Wow.
I'm like, he's a kid. Like, if you have this impression on them, like they might hold a grudge forever, right? You don't know. And I was like, oh man, like. And also, I was like, first of all, I was like, Jacob's gonna hate me. Second of all, I was like, I'm fucking fired. And like, honestly, like, so like after 5 minutes happened, like we just like Ariane's like, okay, like let's clean this up because we got to keep going, obviously. And so she's like, okay, Jacob, we got to clean your eyelid off because like all your eyelashes are glued to your eyelid and there's tissue paper. And Jacob's response is like, okay, but only use water, please. And we're both like looking at each other like, yeah, absolutely. And so we're like, Jacob, please close your eyes. Like, just keep them closed until we were done. And we just like took Telesis solvent and a Telesis thinner, and just because it's the only thing you can even use to get it off.
The only thing you can use, yeah.
Because he besides remover, but he's like, I don't want to get any remover on there because that grease, if it catches like the edge and it starts to just like eat away at the application, we're fucked. So he's like, and we just like very carefully got the tissue off and then got his eyelashes free and we cleaned it all off. And there was always like a film of like glue there, but we just powdered it, and you know, it ended up being fine. And the moment it was all said and done, and I probably looked like I was going to throw up. And honestly, man, and this is a testament to what I said to how amazing Ariane has been and is that he came over to me, like he came across like from his side to my side. And he's like, that shit fucking happens. And then we went back to work, and I honestly, it was just like, got all of my wind back, and we finished the makeup, and we went, and that was it. And I never even thought about it ever again. And then he went and talked to Jacob's mom and told him what happened. But the thing was, up until that point, Jacob had been super good about being super still. But I don't have a lot of experience doing like long applications, but Arian's like, man, week 3 on adult actors, kid actors, every actor is like, if they're doing the same makeup 3 weeks in a row, week 3 they start to get antsy.
Oh,
right.
And he was like, and Jacob started like pulling his head away, and we're trying to glue things down, and he's just like jerking his head away from our brushes or towards our brushes because we're both gluing, right? So he's just going side to side, and we're like, look, you got to stop moving, man. Like, please, like, you know.
yeah.
But he's I think he was 8 or 9 at the time. And it's like, you know, it's like you can ask them all you want,
Yeah,
to be still, but like he's ultimately like will or will not listen.
It's
And
still
so
a kid. Yeah.
and yeah, he's a kid, man. Like you have to like understand that no matter how much you want it to work out in your favor, they have their own mentality. And so then after we did the application, Arian went and talked to Jacob's mom. And honestly, I don't know any kid actors, but I know there's a lot of kid actor parents out there, and I'm sure a lot of them are great, and some are fucking horrible.
Yeah.
His whole family is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yes. And his mom is super good. And he told her straight up what happened. But he also mentioned, like, look, this is week 3 of the makeup. Jacob's been doing really well, but he's getting frustrated and he's getting like annoyed of the process. But like, got 5 more weeks to go, you know, and we're all part of the same team. And it's like, he's been so good. And Jacob's mom talked to him and he came back the next day. Oh, you know what? Sorry, he was antsy the day before. And he came back that day and he was super good. And then that's when I got the drop in his eye. So like that. That's why I was just like, oh man, he's gonna hate me, because he got this talking to from his mom, and he came back and he was just perfectly still.
Good boy.
And I got that drop in his eye, and I was like, oh fuck me, like this is awful.
I've dealt with adult actors that are just terrible and not wearing any makeup.
No, totally. And so like, yeah, no, he was, and then after that moment, the next 5 weeks, he was honestly perfect. He was, I couldn't imagine like how he went through all that and just did it.
That's
so yeah. So this is Heather. Also, I'll call the Avian, I believe.
The Avian. Yeah, we got a few shots.
You know
here.
her name though. You have to put the funny with the name. The two of them together are hilarious. Because they're seen as humans, right? And only certain people can see them as the aliens, and they're hooking up, and they're like a couple, and they're all like sex crazy.
Yeah.
And she promises him something. And he's like, a wing job.
So I'm a huge fan of this actress.
Yeah, she's great.
She's great. So I don't know if you guys have seen the Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, that's where I actually was. That was my introduction to her, was that show, and she's fucking hilarious on it. And so big fan of her. And I never actually got to meet her in person ever. So her life cast was done down in LA by, I think, one of the ADI guys, like after they split up, the guy that kept going. Gillis. Who kept going? One guy retired, one guy kept going.
Well, they're both still going.
Are they? I thought one guy kind of retired. Oh.
No, Tom's still going. Alec is in LA.
Oh, it was Alec. So
yeah,
they did a life cast for us. So they did arms and her head and her chest as well, because she's got a full chest prosthetic. So they did that. They sent it up. But so I never got a chance to meet her, because like even when they did the test application, I wasn't there for the day. But this makeup, again, the design was done from the front. I took that. I started with the face. Honestly, I sculpted the face front on, did the beak, and then when I turned it to the side, I just took that ripple of feathers and just went back with it. And then when I got to the back of the skull, we extended it, because it kind of, in the original design, it kind of comes up to a peak here. And so I kind of, from that front view, kind of added some height to it. And then as we rotated it, we knew we needed to extend the back of the skull a bit. And but everything you see, all the feathers coming up the side of the neck, that's all in the design. The face front on is more or less the design. I did the original lower beak bigger to match the size of the upper beak, but they wanted production wise for it to be smaller, so hopefully you'd get more just dialogue coming through. Because honestly, as far as this character goes, her mouth goes like this and moves, and like you don't get any facial movement here. From here up, it's just dead. It's absolutely still. And so like I again, I haven't seen the show, and I don't know how it translates, to be honest. I haven't heard one person complain, so I assume it looked good, but I think as the makeup design overall, it turned out really well. And the cool thing about that makeup was her whole upper beak could come off. as you saw there's like a vacuum form plate that I did with magnets in it. So this could
great.
just pop out. Yeah. So the beak,
All right.
it wasn't glued to the beak. It just kind of sat over it. But that could pop off. So she'd have like this free for eating, drinking for her breaks. Yeah, her lunch break and all that. And just and in between, take comfortable.
Well, I hate to be a total asshole, but we are about 5 minutes left, and we have a few more things to show. We could go on for like 2 more hours, Mike. I swear.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that went by fast.
I know, dude. I'm telling you, it's like we get hearing all these amazing stories, and it's a blast. So don't we'll have to have you back. I think
we'll have him back.
Oh, please do.
Okay. All right.
We'll get him to carve something.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So this piece here was done for a show called Divinity. So this is on Stephen Dorff. The director of this is a guy named Eddie Alcazar, who I actually met originally via an email because he reached out to me. He saw my work online for an indie that he was shooting in 2010. And and that we ended up shooting down in Albuquerque. So cool. I literally came down and worked illegally for like a month and a half in the States. Oh yeah, man. I was like, he's like, I asked him to get me a visa and they're like, we can't. And I was like, well, okay, I'll still do it. So I did it. But
so this is the same thing in your country.
This is our 4th film collaboration together. Wow. The first one, we went down and shot 3/4 of the film. It never got finished, unfortunately. The second film, we did a bunch of pre-production. I did like this, came up with like the makeup breakdown for the movie. It was actually a true story about a real life boxer that never got to be done. And then his third movie was called Perfect, which came out about 4 or 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And then this is his 4th film called Divinity. And so, yeah, in this movie, the character he gets injected with a serum that's supposed to make you like muscular and like perfect and like amazing looking. But he gets over injected with it. And so his character kind of like gets like grossly muscular and grotesque. And Eddie's vision with it, that his head would just like blowed up. And, I love it. And then so like he had an idea what he wanted. By the time he hired me to come on, he already knew what he wanted. I personally would have loved to have seen take an actual makeup breakdown of the remove all the skin, see where the muscles are, and then actually bloat those individual areas, as opposed to this like kind of brainiac head. Which the thing is, he referred to as a brainiac, and he said, "I don't want to look like a brainiac." I'm like, "But what you want is a brainiac. You want a bloated melon." And what I want to do is like because on the side of the temples here, there's muscles there, but there's no muscle really on the skull. I want to have like that blown out, but have it flat here, and just like blow out like have like a donut mouth, like have all these like very like where all the muscle groups lie, have those all inflated. And I had this idea, and I never even got the chance to say, "Hey, like what about this?" Because he's like, "This is what I want." And so this is what he wanted, and this is what I gave him. This is the final stage that I did. It goes on beyond this where it gets to the point where it's like hanging over his face. These are teeth that I did for the second season of Van Helsing, which was I actually did that show more or less by myself for the second season.
Oh wow!
A friend of mine named Tamar, she hired me. She's the makeup department head. We worked together in the past, and so when she got that second season, she's like, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And so there was a few times where I had to bring people in to help me, but for the most part, they only needed a few gags per episode, and I was able to handle like the whole show myself, which was crazy.
Wow.
This was for oh shit, what's it called? It's a
talk
show
about
Talk about
scars. That's ridiculous cool.
Yeah. So this is a fully rendered design that was came up with in the show. That's actually an indent in her cheek where all her teeth are exposed. So that was all done with visual effects in the gap there.
Okay.
Yeah, really cool. But it's what's it called? Motherland.
Okay.
It's about witches. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
This was for Peacekeeper.
Yes.
Or is it? Yeah. Is that what it? Peacekeeper?
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Sorry. Yeah. Peacemaker. So in the show, which actually I really enjoyed. That was super good, super funny. That's one of the only shows I've seen that I've worked on. But he was that was an amazing show. It was super funny. I love the tone of it. Really, really well done. In this, the shot is just he got cut a couple times. The bottom one is like a pre-stitched thing that was done. The top one they stitch on camera. Instead of having like individual like little pieces just on, we did like the whole half of the chest that goes up over the shoulder, so like you don't get any edges, right?
Oh, that's good.
It's a nicer way to do pieces like that. Like you can do it if it was a Bondo piece, you could probably blend it well enough that it'd be fine. But even silicone, if it's not perfect and they move, you just get wrinkling, right? And by doing his whole pec and his whole chest, and even it goes like up over his shoulder, and like it blends off like right here and wraps around, like you don't even see it, man. And I've seen pictures from I saw the show, but even just the pictures from the set, you couldn't even tell. They look great. Yeah.
Can we just talk about how jacked John Cena is?
Yeah, he's super jacked.
He's got a C cup.
Okay.
He is ripped.
This was from The Stand. So this is like a forced perspective shot. And you know what's so funny is this is not even in the show. They asked for this specifically. They asked for this specifically where the camera's supposed to pan over and then literally zoom in. They were actually going to dolly the lens right into the eye socket. Not even do like a zoom, but like an actual physical and so what it is people walk in the background with this like a corpse laying right in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen again another show that apparently is decent. It's not the best, but it's decent. But like in the show, that's a fully digital version of what we did.
Oh,
okay.
And that head is like freaking 3 feet long. It's a giant sculpture. And
why isn't it in your living room now?
Because I didn't again that was done at Schminken Effects, and so we did it was a 3D ZBrush render. We got it printed out in a 3D CNC and styrofoam. We covered it in Chavant and then did all the detailing. The teeth are literally printed in I think the teeth were printed in resin, so like a nice clean print, molded and then cast out in just like urethane foam, like a nice self-skinning foam, and then painted and just popped it in. But that head is cast out in silicone, so we did like I think it was like a 6-piece or 7-piece mold of that whole head. And then so it's silicone, skin, foam filled, and then the teeth inset. Yeah, it was a really cool piece. And then hand punched hair as well. Again, this is from The Stand. This is like just one of the bloated necks they got from the people that die from the virus that exists in that show.
It's so disgusting. I love it.
The cool thing about all these sets we did 36 bodies in a month and a half. There's a scene in the show where it's a church shot, and they go in there, people come into this church, and there's like 36 dead bodies in there, and they all got bloated necks. And we did 36 full silicone bodies, but silicone heads and hands. 36 bodies in a month and a half.
Was that a portion of time in your life when you said, "Why can't you do this shit digital"?
You know what's cool? What we did for that, and this is actually something that I've never heard of done in the past, is a guy that I know named Lance Webb. He's an amazing artist in general, but he's done traditional sculpture, but he's really good at ZBrush. He did this articulated body for us, and then we got it milled out in foam, just like that really like crumbly foam. But we got it sprayed with that rhino, like the truck bed liner, super durable. Yeah. And then the whole body is held together with like elastics, like at the waist, and then bolts at the arms. Super posable, ultra lightweight, but like honestly indestructible. Is the first time, like, it was the craziest idea, cool concept. So we had silicone forearms and silicone heads on those bodies, fully dressed, 36 bodies. I think the front row was silicone hands, maybe in the second row, but everything after the second row has no hands because you don't see them. But silicone heads, But all the necks in those bodies, my Toby Lindala, who's he's been around since the 90s. He's like X-Files guy. He was like the original X-Files makeup artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His company, Schminken, he really wanted this very specific translucent neck, which they have. And so we have these silicone heads filled with, honestly, just untinted gelatin. Just like that kind of amber gelatin. All the necks are filled with just gelatin, which was a little bit problematic because it was a skin silicone and delaminated. So we had to like kind of make cuts and kind of just paint in a bit of caulking and kind of glue it back down. And it worked. It still worked and they look great, but it was one of those things where it's like there's two materials that don't want to work together. Was
the weight of the silicone kind of lifelike in kind of movement? Like not silicone, but the weight of the gelatin.
Well, because if you look at the sculpture, we sculpted all the weight into the sculpture. Okay. That was like our whole goal. Yeah. They're all just still bodies, so nothing moves, right?
Oh, you're right. Okay, that's true.
They're just dead corpses. They walk in, they're all like hunched over. So we tried to like have heads
Weight
like to the
goes to one
side.
side or the other
Exactly.
side.
And that would, oh, and actually, you know, so sorry for that one. What you saw there, though, that was actually a prosthetic. That wasn't even like a head. That's actually a prosthetic I sculpted for those things where there's a scene where people are in the hospital with the illness and all these people have these necks. But we did like, I think 20 different heads.
Wow.
To create 36 bodies. Yeah, a few of the heads were reused. Like, I think there's like, you know, I think multiple heads were like 3 times over. We even, I one of the heads that I did was like a little boy, and that boy, it was done as a boy, and then 2 different versions of a girl, the same head.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news now that it's a little overtime, but we have enough, Michael, to go over and probably do another entire hour with you.
I think we need to have him back.
I think that's it.
I would love to, man.
Holy crap,
Wow.
this has been so much fun. I just been like, I'm trying to carve away, but at the same time, I'm like, holy shit, I just keep staring at this stuff. So, Paul, you want to show us what you made real quick before we sign off?
Sure.
Yeah, let me zoom in on you here.
Well,
Okay.
I've changed directions 7 or 8 times, and at one point I turned it around and was like, "F this, I'm going to start again." And then I was like, "Don't you quit, Deva! Don't." You quit. So, obviously, you got to undercut it to get some sort of a helmet because he's a Viking, and Viking is a helmet and a beard. That's it. Right?
Yeah, totally.
So I'm working on sinking in the eyes and trying to. A long way to go.
Man, you're on the right path there. I feel like all you need is a couple horns just glued on there, and you were there.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. There's 7 or 8 things I could screw up catastrophically on the way to get to those horns. Those horns are the easy part.
Ted,
No,
what about you? Ted? You got something underway?
Since he's exhausted.
Oh, see.
he's
pulled
laying
the
down.
I know that expression.
He's completely exhausted. So
Okay, that was a
he's
great
gonna-
idea.
he's gonna be laying down.
I like how you bent the horn.
Yeah, the horn is pliable. Yeah,
Like,
oh, I love it.
like, it's a gelatin horn. It
Yeah.
like Michael works with,
He fell hard.
Mine.
Oh, shit.
If I can
That's
focus.
nice, buddy.
So it's not going to get into focus very well, but so I'm doing the same thing. I just was like, I want to get him the mouth. I think is what I have to figure out. Just like the other guys, I got a beard going. I might go bald head and then do some like braids in his beard or something to make him look like a Viking. But I want to have him kind of have like he's exhausted, so his tongue's hanging out, or he's like like slack jawed or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the cheek form and the nose and everything you got there. It's great, man.
Yeah, it's fun because when you carve on these butternut, and Paul and I are geeks about it because when you're doing pumpkins, you got a big air ball in the middle, and it's all the same uniform thickness. But these guys are solid all the way through, so you can really
you got like that. The seed sack is like a little sphere at the bottom, and you got like all that meat.
Yeah, and all this is just a little air ball down here, but everything else is just
no, that's
It's
great.
consistent. You don't
Just
really
meat.
have to deal with any of the pulling like on pumpkins. If you get a soft spot or when you get towards the middle, it gets mealy.
Yeah,
It's just not the same material. It's like switching clays in the middle.
I fucking hate that.
It's awful.
And when you jump into a sculpture that someone else started, and you like get pockets of like soft and then medium chavant because you're raking, and you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, oh, okay, there's 2 different hardnesses on this one. All right, I don't know why.
So you fill out pumpkin pain.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. What's even crazier to me is guys that can use like the green and brown chavant together. I was like, they have to be colorblind. They're 100% colorblind because this looks like gray to them. They're like, yeah, it's fine. Like it's the same thing. I'm like, no, that's literally a fucking like Neapolitan swirl. I'm like, I can't see any of the form. No, I was like, they have to be like that. Must look like the same tone to them because it looks like a nightmare to me.
Yeah,
that's our handicap.
Yeah.
Among
other things, we have many.
Yeah, sculpting pumpkins, golf, all kinds of handicaps.
Yeah, I got lots of handicaps.
Terrible.
Well, this is where you can find Michael's work. Anywhere else? Obviously we have you can go to your Instagram. Is there any other place we can find your stuff, Mike?
I literally have had a blog since 2006 that I haven't updated in like the last 7 years.
Oh, yeah, let's go to that.
Oh, don't go to it. It's so
IMDb. Go to IMDb and check out all of his page too. But you get lost.
My blog is actually linked on my Instagram account. It's still the link is still there, but I just haven't updated it. It was like when I finished makeup school, I just started blogs were like fucking cool then. I didn't think blogs are not cool anymore. But I started just sharing my experience and sharing information more than anything. What I did, how I did it, materials I use, just
That's
because.
awesome.
Do you guys know the Makeup Effects Lab? It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
are you aware of
I
it
have
at all?
heard of it. I've heard other guests actually reference the same place.
Yeah, the Makeup Effects Lab. So in 2006 is I think when I joined, and that was like the last year or two that it was alive. And I met, I hadn't had a job in the industry yet, and I met so many people like Neil Gordon, right? Like he was one of the lead guys on there, just sharing information, super generous with just his time and his info. But there's people from all over the industry on there. And then
John Fuller is a name that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was like one of the main guys. It was his baby basically. Mm-hmm. But I got on there, and even before I started, or I think even after I started working, I can't remember, but there's like pages for everything, just like information share, like work you've done. There's a tutorial page. I created like a tutorial on how to do Bono transfers because at the time people didn't still fully understand the whole process. And to this day, I have so many guys from back in the day be like, man, like you perfectly laid out exactly how to do it, because they saw it in like Makeup Artist magazine, because they did an article about it one year and it was fucking atrocious. Like it was like disgusting because they used photos of like silicone prosthetics as like one of the steps, and it was just like hyper confusing. And I just did like the whole process like very clearly, like you sculpt it, you do this, and people are like, I learned how to do Bono transfers because of like your tutorial. And I was like, that's cool, man. Like, cool. I just did it because I just felt like it's something that people could use because it was such a up and coming and strong form of makeup at the time. And that was only like, I think 3 years after it even existed,
Dude, with what you do at the Shanghai and your school and everything, you're like a dyed in the wool teacher. I think that's your calling eventually.
I actually haven't taught in, I think the last time I honestly taught was like 2016, like in Shanghai. I haven't taught since, but I started in 2009. I was a TA in 2007, but I love sharing information. So even like on the job, like I like being a mentor to people if they'll accept me. I overstep aggressively because I will just unload information on you as you're working. Said, hey, a better way to do that is this. But ultimately, I don't give a fuck because either you see the benefit in me sharing that with you and say, oh shit, okay, and you try out my advice, or you say, no, I have this, and you have it, and okay, and you figure it out. And both ways are fine, because then good, like you want to make mistakes or you want to like just find your own way. Like I respect both ways. But there's a guy I worked with, his name is Bruce, and his name is Bruce Houston, and he's an amazing artist up in Vancouver, and a lot of people don't know about him because he's just like, he's been here for like, when I started, he was 12 years in, and he oversteps aggressively with his information. But I was so eager to learn that when he was overstepping, that wasn't overstepping. I was like, why are you telling me all this free information? I was like, why are you sharing with me? And then I was just like taking it and I was utilizing it, and he could see that I understood what he said and I replicated. And he was like, oh, excellent. And I never felt him difficult to work with, but he has that fucking reputation. But I was like, man, it's free information. Like, how can you not? Like, if you want to get good. And so now I realize, like, I've turned into Bruce. I was like, I share aggressively. And I said, but like, if you want to get good, fucking listen, And I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying, like, I've been doing this long enough that I've tried like 40 different ways to do shit just out of experiment.
Right.
I feel like this is the best way. I don't know, if you want to experiment, you can still experiment, but like
make mistake. Yeah.
Sometimes we're like, we got a time crunch, and it's like, don't fucking do that, do this, because honestly, we can't wait for you to make 40 mistakes,
Right.
That's the case sometimes. Sometimes you got the time. Sometimes shops got the money. It's like, yeah. Take 4 days to do something that takes half an hour. It's fine. But
those are my favorite days.
Yeah, if you could just fuck around and no one cares, and you're just like, okay, I can make mistakes, and you can just learn, that's amazing.
Yeah,
the shop can afford that. That's
rare.
That's absolutely amazing.
Rare. Yeah,
it's well, I think most shops can afford it, but most shops don't like it. But it's more usually about a deadline more than it is about the money. It's the deadlines. Like this is due in 2
Right.
days. We don't have time for you to like learn over like, you know, a certain amount of time. That's why I share it. Cause I'm like, look, if you just do it this way, might get a better result, you know?
I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing more live stuff on Instagram because I think, like Matt said, this is kind of your niche is definitely sharing your information. You're very good at
Yeah.
you got that
I
teacher's mentality. So
I
that's
love
pretty
it,
cool,
man. I like it more than the work itself sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
More gratification. Because
There it
like doing the work is just, you know, we're working for studios, which is fine, but like sharing the information, that's for like just people.
Yeah, people,
for
especially if they're hungry for the information you're
It's
giving.
it's for civilians, you know. It's just like people that if they want to learn and whenever I meet somebody that's like has that hunger and I can sense it,
you jump in it. Yeah,
I'll fucking unload.
Yeah.
You know, but also like, and I would say I'm hard on them, but I'll push them. Like, oh no, you can do that better. I said, just go a bit slower, take your time. I said, you have it. If you do it properly, a little bit slower, instead of wrong like 3 times over, like no one's going to get mad at you because you took a little bit more time to do it really, really well the first time.
Yeah.
Instead of failing like 3 times, you know, it's like no one cares about that. If it's good, it's good. No one's gonna be like, shit, look at that amazing. Oh, I haven't plugged myself. Oh, I did. No one's gonna bitch at you for fucking like doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
Right. Take your time, do it once. So you
No,
can
I've never
do it 3
I've
times.
never been criticized for like that's a lie. I have, but by certain people that their ideas quicker is better, for me it's not. Better is better.
Yeah.
In my career, it's always been you can get it quick or you can get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Up to you.
And right on, and I've seen people do quick 3 times wrong in a row, which took like 6 days, and I want to do it proper over 3 days. So
Right.
what's you know, it was like you want to do it quick 2 days, 3 times over because you didn't work and it didn't work and it didn't work, and I wanted 3 days, beginning to end, to just like perfect it. And then you got to do it in a day and a half at the end and rush it, and you still nail it because you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, imagine you just gave me 3 days from the get-go. Like it could have been beautiful.
Yeah.
Damn right. Well, to check out more of Michael's stuff on his Instagram.
He's
and
coming
his
back.
IG.
That's it. He's coming back. He's got to come back.
He's coming back, and I've inspired him. I heard the engine jumpstart. He's going to be online constantly. He's going to get a Patreon thing. Guy's
Oh no, I'm absolutely not going to do that, man. I
guaranteed. That's how it starts right there. I
It
will
was
never do
announced
that.
right here. Michael's starting a Patreon tonight.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
that's it.
I'm actually signing off and I'm going to go watch TV.
That sounds like an alien.
And finish your drink.
Yeah.
Finish your drink. And
Well,
But yeah,
guys,
this-
here's
there's
how you
actually
can
quite a
check
bit
us
here.
out. You can check us out on all the social medias and whatever they're calling them
Yeah.
these days, but we are there constantly, and we will be back next week with another episode of Carvers and Creators. Michael, thank you very much. It was an honor to have you on. You're a great guy and an amazing sculptor, and it was a really good time.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
We went long, man.
Yeah.
we did. But you know, and the folks who stuck around, thank you.
Before you stop though, what's with the hour mark? I know like some podcasts will do like an hour, but then it's like an hour and a half episode. Why do you guys got to stop?
You know
Well,
what?
you know, we're a little
Listen,
loosey goosey that
ain't no
way, you know.
Ain't no
Okay.
stopping us. Ain't no stopping us.
But I mean, but why the hour dead mark though? Like it's just like
We used to do an hour and a half.
Attention
We
spans.
used to do an hour.
oh shit! So we still got like what, like 14 minutes?
Yeah. Well,
If people leave us for that reason, then you know it's on them.
So is the reason why you do an hour is because some people just have nothing to say, or I don't know.
Well,
no,
I'm
we always have great guests. We like to keep it to an hour because what we do like to do is have guests back.
Gotcha.
That's
We can't
the way we
lead you
tease
dry.
it. That's the way we
Yeah,
tease
we
it.
try in an hour and a half, but
Gotcha.
we honestly did the first couple of seasons with an hour and a half each time, and we had great participation. Don't get me wrong. I just think that sometimes what we found too is that people would start nodding off at hour,
Which was
Okay.
usually Matt and I after like our
Yeah.
fourth beer.
Yeah, it's because of the beer. It's not because of the content. No, yeah.
That's right.
I'm like, remember when this sculpt had 2 eyes 20 minutes ago? We probably should
Yeah.
have ended this 10
Yeah.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
You got
my
it, man.
pleasure, man.
I
We'll definitely
appreciate
have
it.
you back.
It was really nice.
All right, guys.
Have a
we'll
great
see you again
weekend,
next
guys.
week.
See you guys.
See ya.
y'all.